Good morning and welcome to the NBA Daily. Coming up, a crazy night of playoff basketball. The Knicks upset the Celtics. We got Andrew Schlecht here to talk about the Thunder blowing a game one at home to the Nuggets. Good morning, everybody. Good morning, Zena.
Good morning, Dave. Man,
how about
what a night?
Yeah, second round is coming out throwing haymakers. So far, all of the home teams have dropped game one. We're going to have, obviously, the Warriors going to play the Timberwolves tonight for game one of that series. We'll see if that holds. But, the Celtics had a 20-point lead last night, Zena, and I thought that was it. I thought the game was over. And then all of a sudden, one of those epic Celtics droughts just kicked in. They finished the game 15 out of 60 from three. And that's the first number I'm going to point to. Aside from the final score, which was 108-105, the Knicks get a big win in overtime. But it's hard to win basketball games if you're going to miss 45 threes, Zena.
Yeah, especially in the fourth quarter, going 4 of 22. And it's important to note that Celtics took 97 shots in this game.
Yeah.
And 60 of them were from three. Like, this is what they do, but they didn't do it well. And you've been sitting at home waiting for the Knicks to finish that grueling series with the Detroit Pistons. And yet somehow the Knicks enter Boston and find a way to play those Tom Thibodeau minutes and win playing hard ball basketball. Just going after every loose ball, jumping higher, running faster. Every single aspect of their game was just who wanted it more. Shout out to Mikal Bridges. Shout out to OG Anunoby. Dropped 29 points alongside what we always know Jalen Brunson to do, who also had 29 points, just cooking in the clutch. It was bravo, Knicks. Yeah. Bravo.
You gotta, I'll point to this. First half of this game, I thought Boston came out. You can see their game plan. We're going to attack Jalen Brunson, going to attack Karl-Anthony Towns, put both of those guys in foul trouble. Smart, right? It limits their offensive options at the other end. But then Boston just did this thing in the second half where they just started chucking threes. And they were already shooting a lot of threes, but this felt like rushed. It was one pass, get a shot up. Even like off an offensive rebound, usually you'd get a reset. It was sometimes guys just dribbling straight to the 3-point line and firing up a shot instead of attacking the basket. Look, when Karl-Anthony Towns is the center, that's the time to go to the basket, like get to the rim. Mitchell Robinson did a much better job protecting the rim, but he didn't play all that much. See, I just can't understand why the Celtics, they won't just put their head down and drive. But we should swing this and give some credit to the Knicks because they did mount the comeback.
Yes.
And fourth quarter, Jalen Brunson steps up big, and he nearly won the game, with a floater at the end of regulation. But he does force overtime. But just by, doing what he does, hit tough shots, got to the free throw line. And, with the Celtics, they just didn't stop shooting threes. It just, I hate to sound like a broken record here, but it does seem like they let this one slip away kind of by being stubborn. Yeah. It's a little bit like Tin Cup, he makes the bad shot and they're just like, well, keep giving him the ball. So, between that, so Jalen Brunson, though, down the stretch was awesome in this game. But Mikal Bridges in overtime, what he did defensively, he was just involved in every single play. He steals the inbound pass. Fred Katz wrote about him adding physicality back in for his defense. I think we saw that a lot.
Yep. Absolutely. The physicality is exactly what made Boston uncomfortable all throughout this game, but particularly the way that they played in the half court. It's as if they took a tip from the Pistons into this series because you saw them shrink the floor. Everything that New York did in terms of making Boston feel as if they had to play closer to the basket without Kristaps Porzingis. Those threes weren't happening and they couldn't find any success inside the paint. And I want to say, Josh Hart, 53 minutes, right? We can give a lot of credit to Jalen Brunson. We can give a lot of credit to, Mikal Bridges, who hit major shots, including one in overtime. Anunoby down the stretch, unbelievable as well. But Josh Hart, with the rebounding effort, with the hustle, 50-50 balls, and the defense that he played, it was the game saver, in my opinion. If Josh Hart wasn't out on the floor doing what he did for the Knicks, they weren't pulling out this win.
Yeah, there's times where
he's the tone.
He's their best center sometimes.
Yes,
he had 11 rebounds in the game. Again, Karl-Anthony Towns, I mean, he picks up his fifth foul pretty late in the game, but, having that early foul trouble, Tom Thibodeau kind of fouls him out in the second quarter and just takes him off the court. I think that's a mistake, right? The Knicks probably don't have the deficit that they face going into the second half if Karl-Anthony Towns is out there. But, again, the Boston game plan seemed pretty clear. Go after Brunson, go after Cat. And then they just abandoned it. And frankly, the Knicks took advantage, just continued to pressure on defense. Boston started throwing the ball away a little bit. Knicks got out, ran, scored some points. But, a 20-point deficit, to be able to come back from that and force overtime, they just had all the momentum. And even the TD Garden crowd, Zena, seemed like there were a lot of Knicks fans, but there were a lot of Knicks fans there.
Yeah, they traveled well. They absolutely traveled well. And that was the part that you felt as if you could see it and read it on their faces.
Yeah.
Like the Boston Celtics, like they felt and looked defeated, and the crowd felt defeated, even down to the last play when Mikal Bridges gets the steal away from Jalen Brown. The crowd that was right before, like the floor seat holders that were right there, they didn't even react. They were kind of like, well, guess this is it. Like there was no, you got it, Jalen, like get the ball back and get something going. They were already defeated in the overtime and really going into the fourth quarter. Knicks, we thought this was going to be an easy walk for the Celtics. We thought the Celtics were going to come in rested. They made all of us pundits that talked about rest and having been able to win your series early make us look dumb, because the Knicks came in and they were like, oh, really? Y'all going to keep talking about these minutes, these Thibodeau minutes? We're ready. If anything, we're conditioned. We're ready for this. And they went 7 deep and killed it.
We should note 17 of 31 from the free throw line for the Knicks, 3 of 10 for Mitchell Robinson. It was a big point of contention because Joe Mazzulla goes to the hack of Mitch to get Mitchell Robinson on the free throw line. I think that
I don't like this theme. A lot of teams doing this hack of stuff. I get it. It's just interesting that it's becoming such a
basketball play, Zena. It feels unethical, right? It's sort of like fouling up 3, which, we also saw that bite the Oklahoma City Thunder in the rear end in their game, right? So maybe the ethical hoops just kind of winning out a little bit. Let's move on to OKC Denver, because that was a crazy game, and I want to talk about it a little bit from the Denver side before we get to Andrew after the break. The Nuggets pick up a big win that felt like they weren't going to get it. We were actually talking a little bit in our group chat about how this was like a noble loss almost for the Nuggets. In the closing, quarter, we're like, hey, you know what? You probably feel pretty good about that. You've maybe picked up a few things, and then they come and they steal the victory from the jaws of defeat. And down the stretch, the one guy who's making plays, it feels like the ball kept finding him. Russell Westbrook makes the game-winning assist to Aaron Gordon, and it just felt like a little bit of a poetic, I don't know what we want to say, storytelling there, that Russ makes the pass instead of taking it to the basket. Remember, we've seen him blow layups in clutch positions before. Aaron Gordon gets a second game winner in the playoffs. Just feels like the Nuggets, Jokic does so much to keep him in these games. And then every now and then, one of these role player guys steps up.
Yeah, it was actually really funny to see that play played out very similarly to the way that the Denver Nuggets got back in this game. You saw Jokic say, we cannot do well in this half-court defense with OKC was throwing out at them. So every time Jokic was getting the rebound early in the third and fourth quarter, he was just throwing it out. That water polo aspect of him, keeping the ball high and getting the ball to the outlets was working. And Russell Westbrook, being as fast and speedy as he is, he was usually that outlet pass. And it was the exact same type of play that you saw at the end of the game. Russell Westbrook breaking out, immediately finding his open man, and Aaron Gordon knocking down the 3, especially those two. Those two were the ones that missed the 2 shots that could have put them up in the fourth quarter. So the fact that they paired up for this momentous win was really dope. and perfectly serendipitous. It just, everything was perfect. My favorite part was Aaron Gordon could barely explain this to Stephanie Reddy.
Yeah.
After his post-game interview, he was as speechless as I was watching it. Like, he tried to gather his thoughts when she said, why did you go for a 3 knowing you were only down 1? And it took him a second to gather eventually that the right guy will find the right shot. Essentially, I'm paraphrasing, but that's what he got to. But he looked like a deer in headlights. He couldn't believe what he did.
I wish he would have just said, well, I had a little bit of a brain fart there. I mean, the truth is he catches the ball in transition with 3 seconds left and he's wide open and it's in stride. I mean, it's a great shot if this is like
great shot.
Any other point of the game. And he does nail it. But my coach brain flips on there. It's like, it's a layup. But think about how well OKC defended the paint all night. And it's so crazy. We're going to talk about this with Andrew, I'm sure, but this was supposed to be the Caruso game. We were supposed to be talking about Caruso, and here we are now talking about Aaron Gordon hitting another buzzer beating shot. The first one was a dunk, never before happened. And then the second one now, a 3 in transition, both kind of out of character. I mean, the second one, at least, out of character for Aaron Gordon. So pretty dope. All right, Zena, it's one game. It's only one game. The Nuggets had to come back and win it. If you're OKC, are you worried?
No, I'm not. Because there's no way that, Jalen Williams plays as bad. J-Dub plays as bad as he did. You're going to find a way to get out of the foul trouble that Chet Holmgren and Isaiah Hartenstein found themselves in early. You saw that it impacted their ability to protect the rim. And so towards the second half of the game, all Jokic had to do, he became the Denver Jokic's. He just did it himself, finding a way into the paint. And you even saw Denver give him the ball in the free throw line, and everyone would kind of just stand there with their hands at their chest like, all right, I'm ready if you kick it out, but let's let you do you. And so those guys getting in foul trouble early, you're going to see Daigneault find some creative way to ensure that those guys aren't in foul trouble. J-Dub's going to come back and play, be the Batman or be the Robin to the Batman of Shea. I'm not concerned. If anything, it's fuel. We'll see what happens.
I don't know. We're going to talk to Andrew Schlecht about it after the break and see if he's worried. I don't know. I bet he's not either. The Thunder drop game 1 and lose home court advantage. And you were in the building to talk about it. Andrew Schlecht here hanging out with us.
What the hell happened in OKC?
We were shocked. What happened?
That was a very jarring sequence. It really didn't feel like Denver was going to win that game until literally the shot went down from the wing right over here.
Yeah.
From Aaron Gordon. It felt like the Thunder were just going to like they're hanging on by a thread at the end of this game. I think they were out executed, by a team that's way more experienced than them. And like the thing about like this matchup specifically is that the Thunder have almost every advantage except experience. Like that's the only thing. And when it came down the stretch of this game, they were completely out executed from the 6-minute and 28-second mark of the fourth quarter until the end of the game. They were outscored 26-11. And a lot of that was just execution. It's foul. They fouled too much down the stretch. They put the Nuggets on the line like too easily. Like they didn't earn a lot of the fouls. The Nuggets didn't. The Thunder just gave it to them. And then the last sequence, the strategy, I mean, and everybody felt it. Like you could feel the nervousness in the arena. Like when they fouled with the 10 seconds left, or I guess it was maybe 14 seconds left. It was like, are we sure? Like I think everybody in the arena felt like, are you sure this is what you should be doing? Because really, let him bring the ball up the court, take 5 or 6 seconds off the clock, and then foul if you want to execute that strategy. And so I just think that there's just these little tiny things that the Thunder did. And it was, for the Thunder, it was death by 1,000 cuts tonight. There wasn't one mistake. Like I think there was the obvious one mistake, but missing free throws, missing a ton of wide open threes. I mean, they started the game missing 5 wide open corner threes. It's like those things that just come back to bite you and allow the Nuggets to hang around.
Offensive rebounds. I mean, Jokic and Aaron Gordon had 12 combined offensive rebounds. This is a team. I mean, you can't give Jokic a second chance. And honestly, that really is what cost him the game. I mean, you mentioned the free throws down the stretch. Jokic just being able to put his head down and bully his way into the lane where someone basically had to foul him to keep him from scoring. I mean, he's the best in the world. And this is why, this sort of game is why he elevates all these other guys, puts up just an absurd stat line, 42 points, 22 rebounds, 6 assists. Game 2, like, how do they answer for Jokic?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think one of the things that the Thunder tried to do tonight was to make him a scorer and not necessarily a guy that's going to be spraying the ball out. And they did a pretty good job of that, I would say. One, they got to keep him off the free throw line. That was a problem. They had their hands reached. I think he shot twice. He had free throws on 3-point shots. Like, you can't do that.
Yeah,
you can't.
You got to know he's coming with the rip through.
It's tiny things that you cannot do when it comes to Jokic. I thought they did an okay job on him. I thought they did okay, but overall the execution, just from beginning to end, was sloppy. They were not sharp. There were at times where they were up like 8, and I was like, man, it feels like the Thunder should be up 28 right now.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yep.
And it's just little things for them.
Well, what's so weird about, you talk about being sloppy. This was a really characteristic game for OKC when it comes to their ability to not turn the ball over. They only had 9 turnovers and only allowed 5 points off those turnovers. On the opposite end, Denver had 18 turnovers and OKC was able to get 23 points out of that. So it felt as if this was a characteristic game for OKC. However, they weren't able to capitalize on those mistakes as much as you thought they'd be able to do that because of the foul discrepancy. Now, I'm wondering who's at the tip of the snake that had them a little bit discombobulated. Because I'm looking at J-Dub, right?
Yeah.
Jalen Williams not coming out and playing in the same way that he probably should have alongside of Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. But then you had Alex Caruso step up. So it's like the storyline has been all season long that OKC has depth. Even when they're making mistakes in their starters, they can go to their bench. Where to you was the problem other than execution on defense? What was the issue that OKC was not able to capitalize on the mistakes that Denver made?
It was really just the rebounding. Like, honestly, like the defensive rebounding was a complete mess tonight. Yeah. And I think that the physicality that Denver brought from the very beginning of the game, the Thunder, I felt like they matched it at times. I don't want to say like they never matched it, but when it came to like second and third efforts, that was Denver all night. Yeah. Because the Thunder, I think their first effort was amazing for the most part. Yeah. They caused a lot of misses for the Nuggets. But when it came to like second, third efforts, that was Aaron Gordon. That was Jokic. I mean, how many like taps did we see after a missed shot from the Nuggets? I mean, that's what it is for the Thunder, is like they need to box out. Like, the Thunder are smaller, which showed tonight. And it's a matchup of size versus speed for them. And they just have to get to the ball faster. Like, they just have to get to the ball faster. They have to be more decisive. And they just weren't either one of those things tonight.
Yeah. We thought this was going to be what we called the Alex Caruso game. He was insane off the bench. And now in hindsight, if he hadn't been so incredible off the bench, then the Nuggets probably have a much easier night. He comes off the bench, gives you 20 points. And coming into this series, Andrew, we talked about who was going to be the second best player for both of these teams. I didn't expect it to be Alex Caruso in night one. I thought, Jalen Williams or Chet Holmgren. I mean, what do you need to see out of them, like, going forward if Oklahoma City is going to beat the Nuggets?
Yeah, I mean, like, Chet and J-Dub have to be better. Like, just flat out. Like, they have got to be better. They've got to make shots. Like, J-Dub goes 2 of 9 from 3. Chet goes 0 of 3 from 3. Like, you're probably not going to win when those guys go 2 of 12 from 3. And then they miss a total of 4 free throws as well. Like, it's just a lot of, like, small details for them. I thought defensively they were okay. They had 6 blocks between the two of them. But when it comes to those guys, like, they have to score. Like, they went – Chet went 5 of 11. Jada went 5 of 20. Like sometimes it's just as simple as like you can't go 5 of 20. You can't have 16 points on 20 shots and still win a game. Like they just need more efficient, offensive players out of both of those guys. That's what it comes down to. And then you have Isaiah Joe coming off the bench. He's their first sub. Like the guy could not make a shot. He's 0 of 4. He only played 13 minutes, but they're generating wide open shots for these guys. Like there's nothing really wrong with the offense. It's just that they're just not making shots. And like sometimes like basketball is just that way. It's like you want to find. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it was kind of like Boston, right? Attempts. But
open threes. I mean, like if you go back and look at these shots, like that's one I can't really be critical of. Like, but you got to make them.
Yeah. You talked a little bit about the experience of the players, but let's talk about what Mark Daigneault was talking about after the game, because of course you look at that foul that caused Denver to get to the free throw line and have time on the back end to get a rebound and get a shot up, right? And Mark Daigneault instructed his team to foul, maybe not as quick as they did, but they ultimately end up fouling in the backcourt, which allows Denver to have that time. But then there's also the challenge call that ends up with Jokic going to the line, a challenge call that Shai Gilgeous-Alexander told him not to take because he knew he had pulled on Jokic first. Was there anything out of Daigneault in terms of like lessons learned that he's going to take into game 2?
The light's too bright for Mark Daigneault. That's Zena,
that
I think she's beating around the bush. Yeah.
That challenge play. I was sitting like right here for the game and could see Shai like pulling him.
No.
Yeah.
Like literally bear hugged him and was like, stop twirling that finger.
Wow.
I mean, listen, like Mark has to be better. I think like that's one of like the biggest takeaways for me is that Mark has now been in a situation where he has, effectively lost a game for the Thunder. And like, how can he be better? How can he learn from this? It's a part of, like the ethos of the Thunder to kind of learn from your mistakes and like you have to kind of go through it. And nobody got up at the podium was somber tonight. Like they're like, we know it's game 1. If you lose game 1, like there is game 2. And in fact, there's game 3 and game 4 as well. And so I think that they understand the moment and they've got to learn through these things. I mean, for the Thunder, the only thing that was missing was actually going through it. Like that's the only thing that was missing for them. Like they have the roster, they have the MVP, they've got the defense, they have the regular season record, they have all of that, but they don't have playoff experience. And the Nuggets do. Like those guys do. Yeah. And they've executed at a high level for a very long time. And so now it's like time for the Thunder. Like, okay, can you actually get that experience during this series? Like, can they get it? I mean, that's
getting battle tested.
That's going to be the question. That's going to be the question.
Well, one of the questions we're going to get answered about this team is how do they respond to getting punched in the mouth? I mean, this is a bad loss for them, right? So we're going to get to see in game 2. We're going to get some answers there. And then the Nuggets, they're coming off this series. They're really playing with house money. Remember, like they cleaned house. No GM, no coach. They were, it looked like when they were down 2-1 to the Clippers, I'm talking to some of my friends in Denver media, and they're like readying the obituary. And now all of a sudden, it feels like they just have all this momentum. I don't know, Andrew. You know how this basketball stuff works. It feels, I don't know. Are we about to get an avalanche? Should the Thunder be worried?
Should they be worried? Yeah. Why not? I mean, you lost a game. You lost a game. You should have won. Like,
you got to beat Jokic 4 times out of 6.
Yeah. You got to go do it.
I said no. I said no, only because I thought that you can't get a game out of Jalen Williams like you got last night again. But that's interesting. Interesting. Now you're making me think.
Wait, why shouldn't they be, like what does that mean? What am I admitting to when I'm saying they should be worried, I guess?
I guess I'm just saying, like, I feel like I don't want to completely discount what the Thunder has built up over the course of the season. I feel like this was I don't want to call it a fluke because it's Denver and we know that they're capable of doing this. But I'm looking at both these series that we watched last night, New York Knicks versus Celtics, and also Denver versus OKC. And it is the road team that has come in and won. But I'm also looking at the minutes that these road teams have put in to get this first win.
Yeah.
And is that sustainable? So I don't know. I feel like I don't want to give too much credit to these wins. However, you might be right. They might need to be worried.
This is still anybody's series. Like, let's just be clear.
That's true.
It's just game one. Like, Thunder win game 2, they win game 3, then we're flipping it back over. Like, should Denver be worried? Like,
this is writing that obituary again.
This is how you playoffs. This is how you want it, though. Like, honestly, like, if you're an NBA fan, like, this is what you want. Like, you want it back and forth. You don't want anybody just mowing over a conference. Like, you want to see adversity.
Yeah, I don't know if we've ever had a second round where, you have 3 road teams win game 1. And we've got a really good chance with the Warriors going to Minnesota for all 4. That's going to be a close series too. I don't know. It's been a fun playoff so far. I don't need to tell people who are listening because, I think we're all watching along. But woo, what a game. All right, we're going to get out of here. Andrew, thanks for hanging out. That's going to do it for the show, folks. For Andrew Schlecht and Zena Keita, I'm Dave DuFour, and this has been the NBA Daily. Thanks for waking up with us.